So far in our program, we have our ship on the screen, and if we left click, it rotates to the left, and if we right click, it rotates to the right. But let's instead start using the keyboard, because that's more likely what we were going to want to do in this program anyway. So it's actually quite easy to get keyboard input in Pygame. All we have to do is we are going to get a list of keys. And what we do with that list is we are able to determine whether the key in that list is being pressed or not. So we'll say key equals pygame.key.getPressed. So key is now a list of all of the keys on the keyboard that could be pressed. So instead of saying if we press the left mouse button, instead what we want to say is if we pressed the, let's say, A and D. So A to rotate to the left. If key and then square bracket pygame.k, capital K, underscore A. Okay, so it's always going to be pygame.k, and then the underscore A, it's always a lowercase a for the letter that we want. So for example, if we wanted to press the T, we would just change this to a T. So I'm going to say we're going to rotate left with A, and we're going to rotate to the right with the D. WASD are kind of traditional computer directional buttons. So key pygame.k underscore D. And then we have our angle resetting if we go too far. So here's my ship, and if I press the key button or the D button and hold it down, you can see it rotates to the left, or I mean to the right, and if you press the A button down, then it rotates to the left. And if I hold the A button down, it will just keep rotating to the left just by changing the angle, which changes which picture we're drawing. Now, instead of having our ship centered at the mouse all the time, instead, let's just move our ship around on the screen. So we're not just going to be rotating the ship any longer. What we're going to do is we're going to move it in the direction of the key that we're pressing. So we can say if key pygame.k underscore W, then what we want to do is we want to move the ship up. Okay, so those are the 4 directions that we want to do with that WASD. So how are we going to code this? Well, what we need to do is have an initial X and Y location for our ship. So let's set those up. Here's our ship code right here, so let's put it in with the ship. So I'll say ship X and ship Y. So ship X and ship Y. Let's just initialize them both to, let's say, 200. So ship X and ship Y are both at 200. And we're going to draw our ship, instead of at the mouse, we're going to draw it at ship X and ship Y. That's going to be the center location of where our ship's going to be drawn. Okay, and so if we press W, what we want to do is we want to move the ship upward. So we can say ship Y minus equals 2, for example. If we're going to move to the left, then we can say ship X minus equals 2. If we want to move to the right, then we can say ship X plus equals 2. And if we're going to move down, we're just going to change the Y variable for ship. So there we go. Oh, this one should be plus. And when I run it, I get an error. And that's just because we should set these two separate. There we go. So here's my ship. It's not moving with my mouse any longer, but if I press to the right, you can see the ship's moving to the right. If I press to the left, it's going to the left, up. And if I hold down the S, then it goes down. So my ship is moving around now. But instead what I want to do is I want to be able to have my ship pointing in the direction that I'm getting it to move. So all I have to do there is I can change which picture I'm drawing based on which key I press. So ship Y minus equals 2. And all I'm going to do now then is I'm going to say angle. I'll just set my angle right here. So if I'm moving up, my angle is 0. If I'm moving to the left, my angle is going to be 90. Angle will equal 180 if I'm moving down. Oh, this one's to the right, then it will be 270. And if I'm moving down, then my angle will be 180. So if I run it again, if I press to the right, my ship's going to the right. If I press down, left, up, and you can see, depending on which direction I press, I'm drawing a different picture. Now this is pretty nice. But what happens if I'm moving up and to the right? The most recent press is going to be the one that takes priority. So instead what we're going to do is we are going to use some speeds. So we can say, let's say speed x and speed y, they both equal 0. So if we move the ship up, then what we're going to say is speed y is equal to -1. So we're going to be moving up, and just like before when we had the ball bouncing around on the screen, we need to actually update ship y by adding speed y to it. So let's make a function to do that. And up here in our functions, def move ship. And what kind of things are we going to need for moving our ship? Well, we're going to need an x, a y, an x speed, and a y speed. And I'm just going to use those to symbolize those things. So there's our documentation. And all we're going to do is we're going to return two values. We're going to return x plus the x speed and y plus the y speed. Those are the two values we're going to return. And so all we're going to do is before we draw our ship, we are going to say ship x and ship y. We need to update those values, and we're going to update them with our function. And our function is called move ship. And it takes the x location of the ship, the y location of the ship, the x speed of the ship, sheep, and the y speed of the ship. And it passes back the x and then the y. Yes, you can pass back two values from a function. Python is a little bit unique in this way, and it will pass them back into both spots. So this will be the first thing that's returned. This will be the second thing that's returned. And then right here, we can say speed x. We're moving to the left. We're just going to set it equal to -1. And if we're moving to the right, then we're going to set it to 1. And if we're moving down, we are going to make it 1. So if I run this again, if I just press to the right and then I let go, my speed is now to the right. And if I press up, you can see it's going up and to the right, and it's going off the screen. Well, we can reset our speeds. So if we are moving up, then we're going to say speed x equals 0, for example. So if we're moving up, stop moving to the right. So anytime that we're moving up, we don't want to be moving, or down, we don't want to be moving to the right. And if we're moving left or right, we can say speed y equals 0, stop moving up or down. So now when I run it, I'm moving to the right, then I'm moving down or up. I'm not doing both, and I don't have to hold my finger down. I mean, maybe you want to have it so you have to hold your finger down. I'm just leaving it like this for now, though. What if I want to move up and to the right? Well, that's really easy to do as well. I'm going to make a new if statement, and I'm going to say if we press W and we press, so up and to the left, let's start out with. So if we're moving up and to the left, what do we need? We need our speed y to be -1, and we need our speed x to be, it would be -1 as well, and we need to pick our angle, and it would be a 45-degree angle. So now if I run it, if I'm going to the right or down, now if I press left and up, you can see our ship, there we go, our ship is going up and to the left with that nice speed. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of these options. So now I've got my up, my left, my right, my down. I've set my speeds to 2 actually. And the other thing that I've done is I've changed my X and Y speeds if I'm moving up and to the left to be the exact same total speed as 2. So if you know Pythagorean theorem, if you're going up 2 and over 2, and then you're actually going faster than 2, that hypotenuse would be longer. But if we take the square root of 2 for both of them, then it'll end up being okay. And the reason I'm having these after I have these is if I make a selection on these after this, then it's going to say, okay, if I'm pressing A after I've already determined that I've pressed A and S, then it's going to change my angle on me. So I have to have these afterwards, and I am no longer in need of these lines because I'm not rotating around and around. So if I run this now, if I'm pressing to the right, if I'm pressing up, down, to the left, down and to the right, up and to the right, up and to the left, and down, down and to the left. Oh, that one's being a little bit tricky on me. There we go. Got it. And if I just hold the button down, you can see it's working good just like that. Now I really need to say this is not the best way to use Pygame. A much better way would be to use classes, but that's not part of our curriculum. That's not what we're doing today. But if you feel so inclined, go ahead and look up classes, especially the sprite classes, and you can learn the much better way of doing that.